Greetings, Internet. I'm Chris Reynolds, Senior Developer Advocate here at Pantheon, and today we're going to be talking about AI. Now, I know that AI is basically anything anybody ever wants to talk about anymore, and if that's not your jam, I'm happy to chat with you next month on our next live stream, but I hope that you stick around because we're going to be talking about something that I think is genuinely pretty cool. Andy Peatling has built Miles, an AI-assisted tool that makes creating unique and bespoke WordPress themes quickly and easily. I'm going to bring Andy up right now. Welcome to the stream, Andy. Tell us about yourself.
Thanks for having me, Chris. I've been working with WordPress for 17 years, since the early days of plugins and themes. And I'm from Vancouver area, Canada. Very nice day outside today, nice and warm. And I've been working with WordPress for 17 years, working Automatic primarily for that time, on all sorts of different products. And last summer, I went out on my own and started working with AI predominantly, specifically AI agents, thinking about how they could be used in software in general. It's kind of the buzz at the moment. And just kind of educating myself and getting used to how to work with them. And, you know, the 17 years of WordPress experience kind of came back to me, and I decided to figure out how AI agents could kind of help bring WordPress forward and into the kind of AI phase of software that's kind of erupting now. So that's sort of where the idea of Miles came from. And I've been building it since kind of the end of last year. November time it started really, and it's been kind of working towards a full release. We've had a kind of beta release period where a number of people have been working with it and helping me kind of refine it and improve it, and hoping to get to a release really soon.
Yeah, awesome. So what exactly is Miles? Is it a plugin? Is it a SaaS thing? Is it what is it?
Yeah, totally. That's a good question. I mean, I would say I've been calling it a design partner for WordPress. So
okay.
It comes in a number of forms. You can go to buymiles.ai and sign up there, and you can spin up a WordPress site really quickly and use Miles to help you design a beautiful site from scratch, essentially using blocks with a block editor. It doesn't use any sort of page builder software. It uses all native blocks. So you can go there and then you can export that to wherever you want to go to take your site and host. Or you can download through buymiles.ai, you can download the Miles plugin and you can run it wherever you might run your WordPress site and use that to build and design a new site. And as Miles continues to improve, you'll be able to use it on existing sites with any themes and continue to refine and redesign whatever pages or site changes you want. So it's really like a partner that kind of is with you wherever you are. I should also say you can use it in coding agents as well. So on Codex or Claude Code or wherever you might be using a coding agent, you can use the skill with Miles, and Miles can kind of be there as well to help you out. So it has lots of surfaces. The idea is, as a design partner, it can be wherever you are with WordPress, whether that's on a website, in a coding agent, or on a host somewhere.
Awesome. Well, let's take a look at what Miles actually does. I'll bring your screen up here.
Yeah, sure thing.
Walk me through what we're looking at. We're looking at the website currently.
Well, we're looking at the website first of all. Yeah, I just wanted to kind of ground in that first. If you're interested in Miles, you can go here and there's lots of examples of all of the different designs that Miles has been creating over the past couple of months. Most of these, in fact, all of them have been created by customers that
I was going to ask if those
Miles.
are like actual sort of live kind of examples of what it's built.
Yes, exactly, they are. And the only difference is they've been anonymized. So I've changed the names and some of the details just so they're not specific to them. Some of them weren't launched. So I wanted to keep them anonymous. But this is a great place to go to see the kind of thing that Miles can do. You can click on them and you can take a look. And, you know, Miles also includes animation as well. So it will include bespoke animation depending on your needs of the site. But yeah, I wanted to go through to start with a couple of sites that I built for this demo. There's one that called City Likes Bookshop. I built this just before the start of the call, and kind of given an example of the kind of thing you should expect to get out of a site generated by Miles. So you can ask for different types of content. It has many thousands of different options in terms of the structure of different sections on sites. You can go through, you can say, I like this, I don't like this, and you can change out any particular section or make any changes as you would with any other agent, especially coding agents. And the idea is it'll be consistent with branding. My real goal with Miles, so this is one example, a real goal with Miles was to, have quality of design that is above and beyond what you might see from other AI generated tools or AI tools for design. So, more consistent font rendering, better palette handling, more diverse layouts, not, as few of the signs of AI design as you can get in an actual tool that can generate something. So this is another example of the same type of site, or same City Lights bookshop site that I generated earlier. And you can see that it has similar structure, but the design is different and some of the layout sections are different too.
So would it actually like create custom post types and things when you're going through and telling it to build stuff, or is it using like just native stuff that's already in WordPress core?
So it uses all native blocks. Everything is via the Gutenberg editor, so the block editor. It can produce custom post types and more advanced structure. Specifically, you might, if you install WooCommerce, it can utilize some of the custom post types that might use. I would say right now it's extremely strong at generating unique designs, creating something you can show clients, giving you a really solid starting point in terms of something you can take away and then continue to build on, either with Miles or manually. And then as the product progresses, I'm building in more sort of advanced ability to handle WooCommerce and bigger plugins that might provide custom blocks and might handle custom post types, and just kind of build it out from there. So it's strong. It's strong in the early stages right now, and it's continuing to improve in terms of more advanced functionality as it goes along. But it's pretty quick. So I'll show. There's one site just as an alternative, just a kind of different design, a pet shelter website for Portland where you can adopt a pet. So you can see the different kinds of layouts that it can produce.
Are the images that it's pulling on all of these things, are those all AI generated images, or is it actually like pulling from some actual source somewhere?
The images are AI generated, but they are generated in a way that's really specific to the needs of the section that it's going to be included in. Obviously, the type of site that you're generating, and also the structure of the image that's needed. So it's not just going to generate a general stock image. It's going to think about what are the needs for that specific section and what is it trying to convey. It kind of generates its own image generation prompts that will then build out the site. So for example, City Lights Bookshop, it's generated this image where there's good use of negative space. The text, it's generated in a way where the text can fit in and not be kind of overridden by what is in the background. So
yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at these and so they like fit so naturally with their surroundings that like I'm imagining that for an AI generated image prompt, you'd have to be pretty specific about like color tone and vibe and
yeah,
like more than
exactly.
just like generate me a picture of a bookstore, because that could be anything.
Exactly. Well, I think that's where I think Miles is powerful, in that it's not just individual tools generating in isolation. It's thinking about a cohesive whole and what like holistically fits together, and like how can you compose this design in a way that will produce something bigger than the parts. And that's been my goal. I mean, that's really like one of the original reasons for building Miles is, can I build something that, one, works with WordPress, two, works with blocks, but three, produces designs that you're not going to necessarily just spin up in a general coding agent, or and you feel like fits what you need and kind of understands what you need better as well.
Yeah, well, let's
Go
take a
ahead.
step back and
Yeah,
see if talk about like, well, let's talk about why you built Miles and
sure
what it
thing.
actually sort of does behind the scenes. So, I mean, obviously, like there's a lot of, well, you talked a little bit about something that you can show to clients really easily. There's a lot of stuff that goes into the prompting and making it specific and making all of this stuff sort of fit together. But breaking it down to, like, as a product manager, as the author of something that is ultimately a product, what was the sort of problem that you were trying to solve when you started building Miles?
I think the main thing for me was I could see the way that the world of AI was moving, and 2, 3, 4 years down the line, you could see a world where these were, AI was very well integrated with the workflows of people building, whether that's websites, software, whatever it might be. And I could see WordPress as this project that had been around for 20 plus years, as like a fantastic foundation, a wide array of already built and well tested plugins and extensions, a good base of design tools in terms of like the editor, the ability to manually edit things. It had all the structure, but I didn't see, or I felt like I needed to be in the place where I could help put that future of AI together with the existing state of WordPress. And Miles was kind of the idea of how to get something with WordPress that could be ongoingly relevant and help bring AI into the world of WordPress in a way that was cohesive and an experience that you could get into and come out the other side with something that you really like and love without necessarily having to put the pieces together yourself and kind of, like you say, like generating the image. Oh, that's not quite right. Putting that in, can it be a tool that really understands what you want and puts together a solution and something on the other end that works for you and you really love. So kind of fitting those pieces together really. But WordPress was the goal. I want WordPress to continue to be relevant 3, 4 years in the future. And Miles is my kind of representation of that, and hope that that's
Was
becomes.
that I know that there's been some of the discourse around WordPress and AI in particular,
Mm,
has been around the sort of rise of the other category, in
mm,
the CMS usage, and there's a little bit of a dip in the WordPress usage and a little bit of a bump in other. And the
right.
theory, the hypothesis is that other category is dominated by AI generated websites. So is this, like, you could have built this tool to fit that other category, right? You could have built this tool
Of
without a
course.
CMS
Yeah.
in the back end because that's
Yeah.
what everybody's doing anyway.
Yeah.
But it sounds like using WordPress with this tool layered on top was a deliberate choice.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, it's a deliberate choice because I feel that you could build this tool and just generate HTML sites or generate, just raw PHP or whatever the language might be, and you're gonna hit a wall. It might not be clear when you first generate a site and you get, oh, I like that design, but as soon as you start getting into the needs of, online stores, of registration capabilities, of any sort of more advanced database driven functionality on a website, which you know I think many websites have. It's fair to say it starts to get more difficult. And there are other solutions for this. You can bring in widgets, JavaScript widgets. You can get the agents to spin up code to build some of that functionality. But I think what we'll see certainly in the medium term is that gets people in a mess, and it frustrates
Mm-hmm.
people, and it results in security problems. It results in maintenance nightmare, and it results in frustration. And WordPress is in a unique position where a lot of those problems are already solved. It just needs the AI foundations and an experience that can bring it all together and understand it all foundationally to provide more advanced website solutions for people that need it using WordPress. So that's where I want Miles to fit in.
Yeah, I mean, I've said it a bunch of times in the past, that, like, I'm waiting to see what happens in the next year or two when all of those AI because basically, like, when you ask Claude Code or whatever to generate you a site, it's probably going to build some sort of a Next.js framework, whatever the popular framework is du jour, like, maybe
Yeah.
today it's Astro, maybe yesterday it was Next.js, maybe tomorrow
Yeah.
it'll be some other thing, right?
Yeah.
And if anybody who has worked with JavaScript frameworks and JavaScript libraries will know that like the ecosystem moves really, really quickly, and
It does.
like I personally have been many, many times in like dependency hell trying to like resolve dependency conflicts on a repository that I or a project that I
Yeah.
haven't looked at in like a couple months, and then like just trying to negotiate all these things, and this thing's outdated, and this thing is deprecated, and this thing's got a security vulnerability, and so
Totally.
like in a
Becomes a
couple
nightmare.
years, all of those sites that have been built today and yesterday,
Yeah.
and this,
Yeah.
since January, are going to need that stuff. Are going to be long since overdue for those sorts of updates. But and yes, you can say, oh well, Claude will figure that out too. But like, can it? Like, sometimes it can't, and sometimes like that stuff is, and also like maybe the person controlling Claude doesn't even know to look for those things, and then
Well, I
they've
was going to
got
say there's an education piece there as
yeah,
well. There's like,
yeah,
yeah, I think that's, I feel strongly that is certainly the medium term future. I think the situation we're in right now is this is a new technology. It's some, coding agents in their current forms. It's months of usage so far. It's not, they've been
yeah.
around for years yet. So we haven't seen that kind of medium to long, long path of maintenance. I think that,
We're
I
in the
think there's going to be,
GeoCities phase with like the animated GIFs of like the under
right.
construction blinking
Right.
banners at the top of the site.
Totally. I think we're gonna see a resurgence of experiences that don't assume that everyone's a developer and don't assume that everyone wants to maintain everything for all of time that the site is alive. So I think there's maybe an overcorrection right now that we're going to come back to a situation where we come back to the tools that are grounded in many years of solid base and solid understanding of what non-technical people need, and then chart a course of AI integration there that solves a lot of the problems that we just talked about.
Yeah. Well, let's take a step back and let's actually take a look at what it looks like to build a site
Sure thing.
using Miles.
Yeah, so this is the site right now. It's essentially a cloud-based platform in terms of it being a place where you can go to buy miles and you can spin up a WordPress site immediately. There's no setup, there's no downloading WordPress, there's no getting it installed. It's just ready for you to go. These are some of the sites I have already on the go or I've designed before in my testing. So they just sit as sites in your dashboard. You can come here and sign up, log in, and then start a new site. And what that's going to do, it's going to create and spin up a Playground WordPress site. So Playground is a way of essentially hosting WordPress locally in your browser. So everything that you see for Miles here in terms of the WordPress site is actually running locally. It's not running on any remote server. The cloud dashboard is contained and run remotely, but the actual site itself is on your computer. That aside, it's quick. It's already spun up a WordPress site and it's good to go. So it starts off, this is going to be a new site. So it starts off with a prompt input. So I came up with one earlier, so I don't have to write on the live stream. And we're going to just do the City Lights bookshop. I'm going to show you how I ran through that site and see what it comes out with. So I demoed a couple of those earlier. So this is a bookshop in Detroit offering book reviews, engaging author nights, online store, the kind of things you'd expect from a bookstore. Now you can make up a prompt. You can ask Claude to build a prompt and put it in here if you want. Like however you want to go about that is fine. Or you can get Miles to ask you questions as well. So you might not want to like write a big block of things that you want.
Mm-hmm.
Miles can ask questions back and forth and construct that prompt for you. So it's, you have kind of a writer's block of how to start. It's easier to just get it to ask you questions. But I'm going to go with a small prompt. Let's hit start on that. And the idea now is because Miles is a design partner, it's not just going to straight up one-shot generate a site for you. It's going to try and, as a designer would, try and understand what your needs are and ask you questions about what exactly it is that you want. So the chances of it producing something that you like without a constant back and forth is more likely. So first question, what are the most important things visitors should be able to do on the site? Browse books and play online. It gives you options to select, and you can also add your own if you like. So I'm going to do browse books, find the store in person, read book reviews. So it's going to start to build what it calls a website brief. So the brief is like the explanation of the things that you need. Okay, so who do you picture as your core audience? I'm going to say Detroit locals, literary enthusiasts. Let's go with that. And as you answer questions, it understands what you need better, and it will adapt the future questions based on what you've said. So it's not kind of going through a script. It's actually fundamentally understanding what you need and then answering or asking based on that. Okay, so what's the right tone and personality? Because that obviously affects the design significantly. So I'm going to say eclectic and local. It might be risky on a demo, but we'll see what it comes up with there.
What's behind the scenes? Like, what is there a specific model that is being used here? Is it a custom model? Like, what is informing the actual robot that is asking the questions?
Yeah, I mean, Miles is a combination of many different models depending on the strengths of each model. Speed, strengths, how well it integrates into the needs of the UI for that particular moment in Miles. So, images are obviously another part as well. Like the type of images that are needed depends on which model is used. So the idea, and coming back to the whole holistic view, is like something you can come to and get a solution. I don't want to, a lot of tools you'll see expose model pickers, you'll see expose more technical things that, fine for a developer that might have a very strong preference, but the idea is Miles is a solution, an agent that is kind of built to know what is the best solution for a specific need at a specific time, and it will just present, it'll do that for you. So your answer to your question is it's all different models. It's not just one model kind of behind the
Yeah, well, I
scenes.
mean, I think that's a reasonable, like, I think that's interesting because that's also a thing that I think I had Miriam and Shiloh from Elementor on talking about Angie not that long ago, and they,
Gotcha.
I think, had a similar sort of approach where it's not like the reason why it's not like you just plug in your API key for whatever AI agent you
Right.
want to use is an option for them, is because they're using sort of a conglomerate of different things to like
Yep.
actually be the right thing. Yeah.
I think I think we'll see more of that. We've got generic coding models now that are starting to converge. They're still better at certain things than others, or maybe more powerful than others, but they're starting to converge into general models. I think we're going to start to see agents that utilize the best parts of different models for very specific needs and outperform a more general model. That's sort of my bet with Miles, is like, can I produce something that is just really good at producing beautiful designs, but not only that, producing really good and beautiful designs and making WordPress work really well with them. That's sort of the bet. I think we'll see more of that. I think we'll see more specialized agents using various models. So it's made a website brief, and it's fairly long because I kind of gave it a lot of things to do. But the idea is you would read this. You can make any edits you want to this. So if it's got something wrong, you can go ahead and change, or you can add things in. That's kind of the brief, the document that, in the real world, you would give a designer and say, go and make me something. So I'm going to hit approve on that. And now it's going to have a think for a little while and come up to start with 4 unique design directions. I call them design directions because they give you a feel of this. This is the way that you would go if you selected this design direction. So this is going to take a little while. So what I'm going to do while this is working, I'll move this over, and I'm going to show you some that I made earlier and actually part of the same process that made the original sites that I showed at the start. So it comes up with originally 4 different design directions, and they're kind of like heroes. They show what is the feeling going to be like, what is the composition going to be like, what do the fonts look like, colors, imagery style, like what is it going to, what is the feel going to be of the whole site if I generate this? So this kind of just kind of tasters. And the idea there is you would say, okay, I like this one. I'm going to go ahead and build the whole site and see how that looks. Or you can say, this is not what I want. I did that here, actually. If you look to the side, I said, let's try some shots outside of the bookstore with a full bleed image. It should feel encouraging. I want to showcase the recent book releases, maybe the top 1 to 3. So then it went ahead and generated 3 more. You can see it listened to what I said there and started to think about different ideas of incorporating that. I wasn't a huge fan of those, to be honest. I thought that the text and the books were kind of disconnected. So I said, let's go bolder. Let's make the books feel connected. So then it went bolder with the text, put in the books a bit more in a connected way. I like that a lot better. It felt more like a good introduction to the site. So the idea here is...
Who's the target audience that you imagine for this? Like, I'm imagining obviously like people that are not coders, who maybe don't have the budget for like hiring an agency. Is that sort of what you're going for here?
I think ultimately that would be a great target in terms of people that just want to build sites and maybe don't have the budget, or they just want to get a site built with WordPress quickly and easily. But my target actually with this, certainly in the medium term, is agencies, is WordPress pros that just want to accelerate the early stages of their website building process. They want to get something quickly spun up that they can show a client in like 30 minutes, that they can accelerate the initial build process. And just make them faster and make them be able to essentially build more sites and make more for their businesses. You can obviously see there's a situation where you could have non-technical users that could then come in and use this, but I think I think there's a world where this is extremely useful for professionals in WordPress already, and that's actually the customers I've had so far with Miles are using it for exactly that. All the paying customers I have right now are predominantly agencies and WordPress pros that see this as a way to accelerate their work, and I think that's the right place to be with it.
That's interesting because when I was in college and I took some graphic design classes, one of the things that I learned was like there's the concept of like building like literal like thumbnails or just like small little sketches of whatever your art is going to be, right? Like a tiny little thing that just gets like the flow or the vibe or like a little bit of a thing, but obviously like you make it specifically very, very small so that you're not hung up on the details. You're just like, this is literally just a sketch, right? And I think that's an interesting idea of like, using AI to come up with that first little thumbnail. And you don't even need to use any of the thing that it produces, but it gives you a direction. Maybe it starts to like steer you into like a vibe or a general sort of like design sense of where a site's going to go.
Yeah, I think that there's a place for Miles in all sorts of different workflows. And one of those is that it's like there's a couple of folks that are just using it for inspiration. It's like, I'm going to fire off 20, 30, 40 different designs every few days, and it's going to inspire me to build my own custom designs, but I'm going to take pieces from it. Or there's people just generating the initial whole design and then taking that away and building using their own theme. And then there's the whole gamut of people that are building the site, using the theme building options in Miles, using that, and then using Miles to continue to edit and then launching from there. So I don't want to exclude in terms of how you use Miles. You can use the pieces, or you can use the whole flow end to end if that's that's what works for you.
We do have a comment from YouTube, a question about whether Miles installs plugins on its own. I think from our conversation, I think the answer is no. But like if you had plugins installed, maybe it would be informed by them. Is that sort of correct?
It can be informed by plugins that you have installed, but it does actually, and that's one thing with demos is it's hard to get to the place where you can show that, but it will once you have. So Miles isn't. I wouldn't consider Miles a theme generator, although obviously that's obviously what we're showing here. It's part of it. Yeah. Once you get the site and you have Miles on it, you can say, I actually want to use. I want to sell things now, or I want to use WooCommerce, and it will go and install it. It will look at the design that it's generated, and it will do its best to use WooCommerce blocks to reproduce that same design.
If you didn't name a plugin, would it know like how to get that particular functionality? Like, would it search in the WordPress.org repository and like do sort of an intelligent like, oh, let me figure out like rank math versus Yoast SEO or whatever? Like, would it do that?
It can, and it's not like to the user, it's not clear how it's made a decision, but it will look at all of the context of the site, like which plugins are already installed, what the design looks like, what this specific. It would look at the design and look at the specific needs of the of the thing that you're trying to do. So for example, if you have a, one or two products and it's kind of like an email form to buy those products, it's not going to go ahead and install WooCommerce. It's probably going
Yeah.
to do something more simple. But if it sees you've got a vast array of products, search, filters, it's gonna use WooCommerce. That stuff works, but I would say that it's, it's I can't you can't necessarily rely on it right now. And that's the thing with AI products, is you can provide a lot of things that it can do, but it's important to make them reliable. So what I'm doing is going through every part of the product, clamping down and making it really reliable, and then promising that for the product. And then as it gets better and more reliable on installing plugins, maybe eventually writing its own blocks, then I can sort of talk about that with Miles and say, like, this is reliable. But the one thing I see with a lot of AI products is they promise a lot and they don't deliver, because making a reliable AI product is difficult, because the models are non-deterministic. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. So it takes a lot of work to do that. And that's sort of my approach with Miles. The design generation is really reliable, high quality. The initial theme that it builds is in a really good place. Iterating with edits is in a really good place. Once you get into more advanced functionality, it starts to become less reliable, but over time, then will become more reliable as I continue to work on it.
Yeah. Well, looks like we've got our 4
Yeah.
examples. Yeah.
So yeah, we can take a look through these. Similar idea there, kind of a right structured image. This one, not so much on the imagery. That one's kind of cool. It's got like an image in the back of the text. It's kind of
Yeah,
a
I like
cutout
the image in the back of the
style.
text. It's not so great for accessibility, but
No, not as readable. That's true. And funny enough, I do tell Miles, like, WCAG 2.1, but again, like, often it will do well, but then it not always super reliable on that, because
right.
sometimes
Yeah.
AI just doesn't want to. Okay, yeah. So these are not too bad. Let's pick one so we can keep moving. I'm going to go ahead with this one, I think. So I'll say start with this. And it's going to spend a little bit of time essentially building out. Let me get this back on. It's going to spend a little bit of time building out every section now. Based on that style, it's going to use that as the influence for the rest of the site and build all the sections out. I've noticed this morning some of my providers are a little bit slow, so we might have a little bit of a wait for that, but it will click in a second. Let me show you. No, not that one. Let's see if I have one where.
Was it just sort of trial and error for you to determine like what models to sort of use for what tasks? Did you do like a bunch of like, research about
Yeah.
what the companies say about their things, like, or because obviously like everybody's gonna say they're best at everything.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, I did a lot of research. I mean, initially research of competitors, but like I mentioned in another podcast, not to focus too much on competitors, because it's so easy in the world of AI to just say, go ahead and make this feature that this person has, and go ahead and
Right.
make this feature, and it becomes dangerous then. No, I mean, I think it's been a lot of trial and error. It's been a ton of iteration. I think the majority of my time has been iterating and trying different models, trying different prompts, trying different tool setups. I've built an evaluation library where I can switch in models and I can switch prompts and I can see, kind of judge the difference in output. And that's been very beneficial. And I can automate that as well, which takes off some of the load on me. But it's really just iteration and just, this works well. Okay, lock that in. Let's work on the next part. And over time that builds up and improves the overall aesthetic and quality of the design output. It actually wasn't slow at all in the end. It did pretty quick. It's producing first the content, just basically the text and the HTML and positions for images as well. It does that as a first pass. You can see writing page content. So we'll just let that finish. It's almost at the end now. And again, based on the brief, it knows the sections that it wants to build ahead of time, and it's going to go ahead and do that. And then it starts to bring in the design. And this, I kind of like the way this works. It does it in real time and step by step starts to build out the design. So you'll start to see this come in now.
So I make a lot of demo sites sort of like this to kind of prove a point or to prove a
Mm,
like a particular
mm,
type of functionality because that's what I do as a developer advocate. Like I make
yeah.
real sites too, but I make a lot of like just fake like I need to spin something up to like show off on something like this, right?
Yep.
But and so for me, like obviously, if I'm trying to spin up a bunch of different sites on a fairly regular basis that I don't really care that much about the content,
Hmm.
this makes total sense to be because then I can just like say robot go do the thing and I can go over here and do the
Yep.
other stuff that I need to do. But I'm also like I'm very aware of like the idea of like keeping the humans in the loop and making sure that like people still like have a job in 5 years, right? Like I'm thinking about like what is your thought about like how humans use this tool or that like use this instead of like because normally like you would for most of this stuff like especially even spec work you're hiring a graphic designer or a design agency or something to like give you essentially what AI is giving you right now like there's going to be people that are going to look at this and be like, "Well, my job is no longer existent because a robot can do this stuff." Like, what is your feeling about that kind of just emerging uncertainty?
Mm. Yeah, I can totally understand that, and I think a lot of us feel that right now. And it's hard to know how advanced AI tooling is going to get and where it's going to leave us. My stance on that is to build things that accelerate people's work and allow them to be a better version of the service that they're trying to provide. So that's why I've really focused Miles not on um, being something that somebody can just come in and quickly build up a site and be done. It's more focused on kind of accelerate your work as a agency, kind of accelerate your work as a WordPress professional. Can it allow you to ship 20 sites in a month instead of 5 sites in a month at a quality that meets your level that is acceptable, or at least reduces the amount that you have to adjust? Because it's hard for AI to get it perfect first time, but if you can get it in a state where it's easy for you to adjust and it can accelerate your work. I don't like the idea of a world where AI just replaces the jobs that we do, because I don't see what it just doesn't seem like a very fun world. So
Hmm.
I would much prefer, and that's really what I want to do with Miles, is kind of accelerate people already in the industry can accelerate their work. Um, but also on top of that, there are many people that may not have used WordPress and wouldn't even consider WordPress. Can we bring some of those people into the WordPress world that otherwise wouldn't have been involved? So not necessarily taking people's work away, but expanding the scope of where WordPress works and expanding the scope of who it targets and who it can work for. Um, so yeah, I think if I don't want Miles taking people's jobs, to be really clear. Like I think that's not a future that I'd want to be building. I want to see it as an accelerator, and that's kind of always in my mind when I'm thinking about where it's going.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I also think about things like, Squarespace, GoDaddy has Arrow, like these tools that let you like either generate a site without a human team involved and then like either do it sort of natively and
Mm,
have the tools already or are already using AI and kind of do that thing for you. Like this is also like you said keeping people in the WordPress ecosystem, maybe bringing people into
yeah,
the WordPress ecosystem
yeah,
with tools that will like be competitive with those things that like Squarespace and others are building
yes.
and then like keep you in a better arguably maybe CMS editor in the back end.
Yeah, well, I think that's the goal. It's let's make sure there's something for WordPress that is it's valuable. And um, can we expand the scope of it? I don't want to underestimate that point. I think, can we expand the scope of WordPress and people that use WordPress? Because I think ultimately that leads to more work for people. It leads to a brighter economy around WordPress. And maybe some of the roles will change or have to adapt to the way that AI helps you out. But it's not a, I don't want to look at it as a removal of work for people. I think it hopefully provides more opportunity and acceleration.
Yeah, and to the point in the comments here, we don't even know what the effects, what the future jobs might be from AI. There's a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt about
Yeah,
like the things that AI can do that humans are presently doing. There's also obviously going to be tasks and jobs for people, to work alongside AI. Like there's just a lot of stuff that we don't know yet. And like you said earlier on, like we're still in the GeoCities phase. We're still in the very early days
yeah.
where we're just like hacking at things and throwing things against the wall and seeing what sticks. And I think that it's really cool that we have this thing. So okay, so we have this layout.
Yeah.
We started to build out a site. So what is sort of the next thing that happens if I'm looking at this and building my site
So
with
the
it?
next thing, yeah, it would be that you would just look at this site and you'd be like, okay, this is fine, or I don't like this. You could say, I don't like this, and you could say, try another direction, and that would
Hmm.
bring back the directions, and you could regenerate from a different one. Or you could. The idea really now is to look at the site and be like, is this a place where I want to start? Like, is this got enough of the foundation in terms of design and content where I want to edit this with Miles or manual edits, whatever it might be? Is this a good starting point? Is really the question that's being asked. So you can see here's the design concept ready to turn it into an editable WordPress site. So you could say no, regenerate. I'm gonna go ahead and do that. I'm just gonna say make this editable because we don't have unlimited time. So,
Yeah.
but if I went back, I'd see the thumbnails, and I could say this. You've seen a full site. I want this change in the design, and it would generate some new concepts as well. So the process now is taking that essentially design generation and turning it into a block theme, using core
And
blocks, making it editable in the block editor.
And you said already that this is built on top of WP Playground. So all of this stuff that we're looking at is in a Playground site that it's built
This is
presumably
all
somehow.
Playground. You could, yeah,
Yeah.
you could actually go out and you could, this is all standard WordPress. Yeah, this is all everything, and it's all running in your browser, which is kind of crazy to think about. It's not actually
Hmm.
running on any server that I have. It's all local. But yeah, you could export this, and actually, I have a little screenshot of that. When you're done, I've just been working on this recently. When you're done with the site build, let me move this over just so it's not confusing to look at. When you finish a site build, you can actually download Miles as a plugin, install it on any WordPress site. So you could install it on a Pantheon site, and you could one click bring the entire site over. Because it's a Playground site, it can be packaged into a blueprint, which is a zip essentially of everything, like a perfect copy of the site. You can use Miles to one click bring that perfect copy onto any hosted WordPress site and continue as you were. Miles comes along, your conversation is there. You can carry on wherever you want. We
And
also
if
have
it
local and
if it
studio. Yeah,
if it did install plugins, or then it would pull those alongside, or like that would be part of the blueprint, because blueprints can actually
it's
have
part of the
like,
blueprint.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
it has all the plugins, has all the database settings, has all your configurations. So it's essentially a really, it's a perfect copy of your site that you can bring over. So that was my thing, is like, can I get people to spin up sites really quickly with Miles without any effort, and can I provide a way for them to go where they need to go, wherever that might be, with no lock-in, and continue with Miles or continue developing, in whatever workflow they have.
And does it
Go ahead and
generate
do that.
code? Like, does it create an actual theme with a theme.json and all of that sort of stuff that gets carried over as well?
Yeah, so that it does exactly that. So let me switch to one that, because I know we're kind of tight on time. I'll switch to one that has been built, and you'll see that it's going to load, if I've got the right site here. Yeah, so it's going to load in the block editor. So here you can see, just like we've got the styles, it's set, typography, sizes, colors. It's missing a couple there, but generally the palette is built out. Some gradients are built out, duotones are built out. Yeah, that's not actually those things, but it basically uses all of the standard block settings. So you can go in and change background images. It's setting the alternative text. It's you can go in and you can edit this site as though it was It is an actual block theme. Even the all of the layers are named, so you can say like events inner, events timeline. I can look at very specific. It's fully editable, and not only that, you can also go in and get Miles to say, okay, I want a different color for my hero heading. It's something super basic, but I'll just check this. Yeah, so here it's finished generating this now. Oh, it's actually, so sometimes it will notice what you have on the site, and you can see here it's requesting this to install WooCommerce. So
Mm.
it's actually going to go ahead. Again, there's some, this is less reliable than the generation phase, but it's in the works and starting to work. It'll go ahead and start to activate WooCommerce, set up your store items, create the products, add the images. It'll go through and essentially help you set up the entire site, not just create a static demo site. So there, I just asked it to change the color. It's gone ahead and done that. It's kind of figured out which of the palette colors it should use. So the editing is I think the real powerful part is the editing. It's like, I've got a site now. I need to make it, legitimate. I need to bring in the dynamic functionality. That's where Miles will really start to shine in terms of it providing the opportunity to do that and working with blocks and not creating invalid blocks, knowing which plugins to install, knowing how to handle plugin blocks as well.
So now that WordPress 7 is out and there are AI connectors and there's also the AI plugin recently hit its
Mhm.
first sort of milestone 1.0 version, I think, recently, which exposes the Abilities API, and there's an MCP adapter plugin that's out there. Like, do those sorts of things change what you're thinking about in terms of how Miles does what Miles does?
I think certainly things like the Abilities API help. I don't think they change anything. The more plugins implement the Abilities API and provide, essentially what are essentially endpoints to interact with them, or tools to interact with them, that helps Miles in terms of using your plugin better and be able to handle it better. But the models are powerful. They can often get around, even if there's no API. They can write an API, or they
Yeah.
can get to the database. They can handle it anyway. Adding keys, there's a future where you can bring your own key and reduce some of the credit usage. But no, those for me are like foundational pieces in WordPress as a piece of software. But the direction I'm going is more, end to end. Like, take away those details, and can you just go and come out the other end with something that you love, right? So I'm
Is
trying not
there
to expose those too much.
is there a future in which you expose Miles as an API provider? So like you could actually like have a custom connector that is a Miles connector that then like just connects to your particular uh conglomeration of the different models to do different things, and like it understands how to do that stuff and uses that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then that right now is the where the skill works. You can put that on your coding agent, and you can ask Miles to do things on your own WordPress site. It can handle the edits and not create invalid blocks. It's much more advanced at handling WordPress blocks. It can redesign sections of an existing site. So the skill is that platform right now. Absolutely, there's a future where that perspective and using Miles as a kind of API or an agent as its own entity, you can bring it into WordPress and connect it, or you could bring it somewhere else, whatever the future of the next phase is of AI development. So if you can think that what I've shown you today is the website representation. It's the end-to-end flow of Miles, using Miles as an agent, but you can pluck Miles out there and use it in your own workflows and as a skill, and get all the same benefits without having to go to the website. So that's hard to show on a demo because it's a very different take, but
Right.
it's the website is easier to demo, but it's definitely powerful enough to be able to use as a separate agent.
Well, thank you, Andy, for coming on. I find Miles at bymiles.ai. Is there any other places where people can find you online or learn more about what you are doing and what Miles does, or just who you, or connecting with you personally on the internet?
Yeah, my most active place is on X, Twitter. It's A Peatling. So my first initial and my last name is my handle. I post a lot of Miles updates there and my thoughts on AI in general. By Miles is a good website, and then my blog is apeatling.com. Um, those are the main places. I'm on WordPress Slack as well, so WordPress core Slack if anyone wants to chat with me there. Same handle.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Andy, for coming on. This was a delight. I'm very interested in how this sort of pans out. I'm interested in sort of where this goes in the future. I think there's a
Mm,
lot of really interesting ways that this could that Miles can sort of steer things. And
yeah,
thank everyone who is watching either live or in the future. And yeah, we'll see you on the internet.
awesome. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.